You're watching News 24 Live. The 24th of March is World TB Day. TB and drug-resistant TB in particular is still a massive health issue in South Africa. I'm joined in studio by Jenny Hughes from Doctors Without Borders in the Western Cape, who's going to tell us about the current state of TB in South Africa. Jenny, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks.
Now, you guys have released findings of a report about the decentralized model of drug-resistant TB care. What does that mean exactly?
So when we say decentralized care for drug-resistant TB, we mean a patient who's diagnosed with drug-resistant TB is able to go to their local primary healthcare clinic, the clinic closest to them, be diagnosed, start on treatment, and be managed throughout their treatment in their primary care clinic. So not having to be admitted to a specialist TB hospital outside of their hometown.
Okay. With that approach, does that not sort of cause greater exposure to the community though?
Yeah, that's a common misconception actually. So what we know about drug-resistant TB is that you're most infectious before you're diagnosed and before you start on treatment. So once we start you on treatment, then you're much less infectious to those around you. So the people we should be worried about are those walking around coughing, not knowing that they have drug-resistant TB. And admitting people to hospital after they've started treatment is kind of like closing the barn door once the horse has bolted. So what we're trying to do is to try and get more people, or as many people, onto treatment as possible. And the only way to do that is to make it easily accessible to people.
Now, can you give us stats on the sort of current rate of infection and fatality?
Yeah, so in South Africa every year, probably around 14 or 15,000 new cases of drug-resistant TB are diagnosed. Across the whole country, probably only half of those get onto treatment. And of those who do get onto treatment, about 30% die, even though we're giving them treatment. So it's not a great disease to get. In Khayelitsha, we're seeing around 200 cases per year. And because of decentralization, around 90% of those are getting onto treatment. So although our outcomes are not great, because our treatment regimens still aren't great, we're giving more people a chance of cure of the disease.
Now, drug-resistant TB, I mean, it's quite self-explanatory in the term. I mean, but you guys are doing trials with new drugs at the moment. How's that going?
Yeah, so we're not doing proper clinical trials. What we're trying to do is to access new drugs to help people to be cured of the disease. So if you have a more extensive version of DRTB, we call it XDRTB, then your TB is resistant to nearly every drug that we have. So what we're trying to do is to access new drugs that are coming available so that we can give people a chance of cure. At the moment, with our current regimens, without these new drugs, if you start on treatment for XDRTB, you have a 20% chance of being cured.
And then Jen, the counselling side of it, I mean, how important is that, and how do you guys go about counselling? I mean, it's obviously not just about taking a drug.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part of our project. So we've got lots of developments in terms of diagnostics to diagnose people more quickly and trying to access new drugs, but there's really no point in doing that if we're not going to support people to take their treatment. It's 2 years. You have to take at least 20 tablets every single day with an injection in your bum, which has a risk of making you go deaf permanently. And so to finish that, and people have to be booked off work and they can't look after their children, they can't sleep with their partners. It's a really difficult treatment course. So unless we support them to complete it, there's really no point accessing any new drugs.